This is the revolution. Ishala dialama doela dienima. This is the activation of all your soul's backdoor code. Ishala dialama doela dishilamu toela dienima. This is the Aquarius annular ring of fire eclipse. It also marks the Chinese New Year. And so our totem animal has changed from the wood snake to the fire horse. In this video, I'm going to be summing up the energy so far that we've had in this year one with the remainder of the wood snake as our totem animal. I'm going to be talking about the Aquarius new moon, which was an annular eclipse with the ring of fire. The Chinese New Year bringing in the fire horse. Now this is just, the astrology is mental because this is also tied in to the Saturn-Neptune conjunction that is going to happen this Friday at 0 degrees of Aries. I'm going to be doing a separate video on this. And this hasn't happened in over 12,900 years, I believe, at 0 degrees of Aries. So we went from a numerological year 9 with the wood snake to a numerological year 1 with the fire horse. This is the changing of the guard of that energy. So as I said, I'm going to sum up. I've done a little, pulled one card already. This is in alignment with what we have learned, what's been activated with that bit of year one with the wood snake. And this is moving forward with the fire horse. We're going to be pulling a couple of cards. I'm going to be talking about the astrology and the symbolism. So last year, right, the reason why this is bigger than normal is because of that Saturn-Neptune conjunction. Again, we get the Saturn-Neptune conjunction on a semi-regular basis every 30 or so years because Saturn moves round the zodiac in roughly 30 years, and so it's going to hit Neptune at some point in those 30 years. But this one, this one, again, over 12,000 years. Now, for those of you who know about the precession of the equinox, that is a 24,000 year cycle, and so the midpoint is 12,000 years. We also, now this is very relevant to this eclipse, there is a pulse frequency vibration that comes from the center of our galaxy. And it hits us, wait for it, every 12,000 years. And that supposedly has happened at the end of 2024. But it's a long, we are vibrating through it. It's why a lot of people are suggesting, and it's very clear on the planet, that we are, as a species, as a planet, going through a dark night of the soul. Old hierarchical systems, old power systems, they're not cutting it anymore. And that's why I said at the beginning about the revolution. That's also very tied into Aquarius energy. And this liberation of our soul's divine I am. That is Aries energy with Saturn and Neptune. So overall, right, I've gone all around the houses. I'm just trying to give you a flavor of the storyline that we're in right now. That is liberation of the divine soul frequency matrix. The clearing of the junk code. The activation of our divine matrix code. So last year, who else had big cycles of behavior patterns show up in their life for clearing out? Over and over and over again of like, right, are you going to do things differently? We had the wood snake in a year 9, completion year in terms of numerology. And that wood snake, wood is very fertile. It expands, it grows, there is life force there. But with the wood snake, this act of the shedding of the skin, the transformation, we were clearing out the dead wood. If you notice in nature, where something is no longer growing, the plant or the tree or nature will redirect the energy to new life. And in that process, the part of it that is no longer relevant, i.e. dead, dying, isn't supporting life, slowly erodes away and falls off. So last year we were going through it, and again it was so loud because of this conjunction between Saturn and Neptune at 0 degrees of Aries. Aries is the first zodiac sign. 0 degrees is the point of the spring equinox here in the northern hemisphere. New life, fertility, growth, the initiation of the I am, itiala of our instincts, fire. Right. So, big deal last year. Beginning of this year, numerology, year 1, but still the wood snake. So rather than the shedding of the skin, of the difficult transition of letting go of what we were so familiar and so comfortable with, because we cling to those old habits. We are creatures of habit. So it would have been a difficult process, but one that we knew we had to go through. Now with the year 1, this was the emergence. This was the emergence of the snake in its new skin. Yet, still, karmic cycles are very loudly showing up, but this time, doing things differently, standing more in our power, knowing what is right for us in terms of our longevity in this new form with this new code. So we have been integrating through the process of letting go of the past in our new frequency. To lead to this King of Wands, this fire horse. The confidence to embody what serves our divine spark of life. We've required a lot of rest, a lot of health, looking after our health, a lot of rest, because we have been regenerating at a code level. Our bodies are learning to take in more light code. That's why we are finding ourselves more naturally inclined to prioritize sleep, prioritize non-processed food, to prioritize mechanisms that serve us for the long term, because we've cleared the junk. We did that last year. This was the integration phase. Diale mutu ela dianima. Diale mutu ela dianima. Right, I feel called Ishele Moduela to look at this card. I do not know what this card is. Itiala. This is from, what's it called again? The Lemurian Star Child Oracle. So we're bringing in big galactic energy here with this awareness of a higher capacity to process information. Right? You think about perspective, and whenever we go through that dark night of a soul, you know, on a personal, social, collective level, it clears energy for us to find a higher perspective. Or we hit rock bottom and we're like, God damn, I am done with it. This isn't working. Sometimes we have to hit that rock bottom so many times to go, wait, no, I can't keep doing this anymore. I think it's Einstein who said this, that it might have just been a quote that people associate with him. Doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting different results is the definition of madness. And so often with all this karmic big cycles, because it's so familiar, it feels like home, even though it doesn't serve us. Our soul frequency has been getting louder of going, no. This is killing me. And this capacity for us to transform, to let go. The snake has no ability to stop the shedding. It happens when it needs to expand. The vision I was getting this year for numerology year 1 in the wood snake was bamboo. bamboo that's able to push through anything and grow at a fast rate. Again, that goes back to why we've been naturally inclined to take care of our physical vessel, because we are expanding in our ability to process things at a faster level, because we're absorbing more light and the code within the light and the code within anything, to be honest. And therefore take care of this vessel as it is going through this expansion phase. Right. What do we get? The King of Wands. So this is the acknowledgement of this numerology year 1, still a wood snake, but leading to this fire horse. And again, the phoenix, constantly retransforming itself in its own fire. And this is all pulling back to that Neptune Saturn conjunction. Zero conjunction is when two planets are on top of each other, exactly, by degree, by minute. That's happening on the 20th, on Venus's day. Praise the baby Jesus. And she's in her exaltation in Pisces. So as I said, I'm going to be doing a separate video on that we have been in this constant roller coaster of transformation. One of the main messages that I got last year was buckle up, buttercup. And then I started noticing other readers start saying that. Like, it's so fascinating when you are open to the fact that we're connecting more clearly, the collective is connecting more clearly to the divine frequency. Radical purification. What did I say about rebellion? Violet flame, surrendering, resurrection. I mean, such a beautiful representation of this process. Found this on Vinted, God bless Vinted, and I promised myself that I wasn't going to be buying any more crystals, and then this showed up. And I was just like, are you what now? Ooh, you what? This is Aventurine Stone of Abundance, Ishala, and this is really letting us know that Source, our guides, the angels, universe, God, whatever you want to call it, is like, hey, sorry, but also not sorry, because it's going to be worth it. This is not me spiritually bypassing anybody's pain. The amount of things that happened to me last year and the beginning of this year, where it's like, you what now? This again in a more hardcore way of like, right, okay, I see you. And something I've noticed I've been saying quite a lot recently, astrology saved my life. And I completely understand why not everybody gets into astrology. This is very detailed. There's a lot going on with astrology. The just a basic understanding of some of the elements of it help you understand where the wisdom is. Not denying the pain, not denying the suffering that sometimes comes through, the master teacher energy. I've had a lot of people in my life over the last year who've behaved in certain ways where I'm like, I see you and I choose not to operate in that way, and I choose to walk away. And each time you genuinely take it less and less seriously, in the best possible way of realizing your own longevity, not only in this incarnation but as a soul, that this is all child's play. Another message I got last year was, we are stronger than we can even possibly imagine. We've been practicing learning to let go of control and surrender to the experience and the wisdom within it. This is very linked into the Pisces North Node, Virgo South Node, which is where the eclipse happens. This new moon, although in Aquarius, was still an eclipse. That North Node was still in Pisces. So this is, again, going back to that divine matrix activation, because all the backdoor code of our soul that's been dormant and that we've also been implementing through these struggles, through these difficulties, is now coming online. The level, as a Virgo sun, right, the level of releasing of control that I've gone through over the years, but really ramped up with the North Node, South Node in these signs, has allowed the natural instinct of myself, my soul, my higher self, God, source, creator, it is all you, to be in a flow state. And it's shown me in all of the struggles, in all of the difficulties, everything is aligned. Everything. And that's been a process of embodiment for a while now. And I'm at this level where, yes, I can still get upset. Yes, I can still feel difficult emotions and experiences. But fundamentally, that part of me that is trusting, coming to a state of knowing, which is the next level after trust, and beyond that is the state of grace, is the lead up to all of this. And everyone's going to be experiencing this in their own way, on their own path, in their own journey. And all I can say is, for those of you who have gone through this difficult shedding and are still like, not quite sure about any of it, I really call to you to allow yourself to trust yourself in every given moment. And build up a practice of that. I mean, regardless of where you're at, applying that every day is going to establish a stronger connection to your vital life force. I feel like, I've got a bit of throat chakra stuff, 12:12 on the clock. I'm just going to clear that on camera because that's often a good shamanic healing process. Right, we're going to get, I've got some new favorite decks from Scarabeo. Me and words. So one card, and we're going to be really going on the visuals for this one. You can't make it up. You cannot make that up. This is the Knight of Wands. Look at all this fire. Sure, wood snake, but this Aries energy. Again, I'm going to do a separate video on it on the day. But look, like, we're now riding it. We're not scared. That child is not scared of this experience. They're having nearly swore, an absolute blast. Let's read just a couple little lines in this deck. This is the Shaman's Tarot. Shaman of fire. The fire of ambition, abundance of resources, ample capacity for recovery and transformation. Again, this is another little nod from Source of going, hey, we see what's going on here. Like, we see what's going on your planet. We see what's going on with you on a social and individual level. Please trust in it. And that, again, what's going on in the bigger world. Insane. But that leads me to this Aquarius new moon and the revolution. That is currently being televised. Particular in certain files that have been released. It's not all of them. I think most of you will know what I'm talking about in terms of power and control of power. Itia la di sha la hu yana. And I'm just feeling called to mention the sort of negative energy linked into the snake, right? If we think about book religions, particularly Christianity and Adam and Eve and the snake. Now, I don't fall into that cadence. But the easiest way to control people is shame. And because there is a lot of shame linked into when two people come together by certain book religions, and that often is linked into, there's all sorts of taboo, isn't there? Depending on how you look at things. Some person's taboo is another person's love, right? Now, the easiest way to control people when they are linked into structures that bring shame. Now, I'm not saying all taboos shouldn't be taboos. But wait, that's not, again, such a complicated topic to talk about, but it's a tale as old as time. To think that that isn't going on in the fear matrix, in the scarcity matrix, where there is a disbelief in abundance for all, and therefore a finite materialistic understanding of reality. Old structures, really old, being revealed very, very, very loudly. Now that's on the collective level. I've noticed on a social level a need to pull away from old forms of power, authority, and hierarchy, where it's becoming louder and louder that those old practices do not work. The veil is thinning. It's almost not even there anymore. And this is all linked into this eclipse. Aquarius, ruled by Saturn traditionally, which is what I work with. It is the future thinking, egalitarian, universal frequency, universal geometry, higher perspective. The odd one out who is running towards the future. The maverick. That which questions the rules. The big reveal. Now this ties into our own internal outdated power structures. Where we're not gaslighting ourselves. That ring of fire is burning up all the distortions. All the outdated code of power structures within yourself that do not serve your longevity. Dialama, 28 degrees of Aquarius. Ishalamodoela dienima. Diale moto fa la di shenya. Diale modoela dienima. Dishini motoela dielema. Another one's bones. Itiala di shela motoenima. Diala is a very powerful image, and you see we've got another We've got another snake there. Ishalamadofini. Dinimona. Di shinianamadoela. Di etiana. Dienamoto. Di ninamoyanama. Unconscious conflicts that have not been clarified, quarrelsomeness and controversy, improbable alliances. So this is a new moon. This is the initiation of clearing out this energy. And making the improbable alliance with your soul. I've got all fire here. And standing in your power over it, with it. Ooh, standing in your power over it. Okay, they just said that's a distortion. We're going to clear that. Because you can't stand over it, you are it. You are in it. Itoela diela motoela. Di shela modoela diana moyanama. Di shinianama. 28 degrees of Aquarius. All the new moons have been late degrees. This is the tying into that karmic closing, right? Of the new is coming from the maturity of all that has been experienced in that sign in the lead up. Now it's square Uranus. The modern ruler of Aquarius, over in Taurus, Now Uranus has been doing us an absolute solid in the sign of Taurus. It went into Gemini last year and retrograded back into Taurus. In Taurus, it is liberating our physical vessel from distortions, from responses to situations that are based on trauma, allowing us to come into balance and know our own truth, rather than all of this in the background, right? All of this pain and this suffering. Again, it's that, what was it? What was that exact word? Improbable alliances. Of trusting in it. Of truly trusting that your body, Taurus, first earth sign, ruled by Venus, has the capacity to show you the way. Uranus, the maverick, the liberator, the breaker of chains, the clearer of paths. It will come along and shake up your life if you are not able to shake yourself up. And it won't really care about the consequences, but those consequences won't matter in the long term, because your liberation of your soul's frequency for you to walk your own path without the guilt or the shame or the oppression of power that distorts life force, motivation, drive, love. Squares are an aspect of Mars. Conflict, drama, frustration, right? Friction, god of war, but god of motivation, drive. Oh, I love what just came out. It's how we build. Push your hands together like that. Feel the friction. Feel the power of building and creating and manifesting in this 3D realm. Universal higher frequencies. It's why I'm currently playing frequency right now. Reattuning. Remember, the more light code that comes in, the more that we are able to process reality. Our understanding of reality is very contained. We are breaking that open. That Aquarius new moon, realigning ourselves to the truth of our soul's universal highest timeline frequency. But it's an eclipse, so This is also linked into releasing, shedding of the junk code, activating your backdoor code. But that square with Uranus of it's got to worth feeling good in the 3D realm for the long term. That is true to your unique frequency. Your capacity to come up with new ideas, new solutions, new understanding of how to implement this, how to engage in this. And this is the card that we got. We've got, this is Pentacles, the Ace of Drums. New ways of doing things, new ways of calling in abundance. That is talking about our own rhythm. Walking to the beat of your own rhythm. Life is vibration and movement, material, affluence, health, the joy of existence, sensuality. Now, how many of us can say that we have the joy of existence? One thing I've noticed on my journey of the self-analysis and self-integration is the tension in my body, right? So I will have naturally started feeling the new upgrades, but my body is then finessely, acutely aware. There would have been layers that have been cleared, but this micro level of tension. Like, how often do we genuinely relax and fully surrender? One of the cats that lives with me was on my lap the other day, and she was sitting with her sort of head up, so she wasn't curled up, and her head started dropping and dropping. She was dropping into deeper sleep. Her body started getting heavier and heavier. And I tapped into that energy, and I had so many body releases because of the tension in the body, right? Uranus, square this moon. There's going to be stuff that comes up. Allow your body to liberate itself. Listen to frequencies. Figure out what your true philosophy is, right? So often we can have ideals about how we want to be, but there's a deeper understanding underneath that. We can cage ourselves in limitations. How we really expand is really getting to the root energy underneath it all. Rather than focusing on this little thing or this little thing, it's like, what is the bigger picture? That's the Aquarius energy, the collective air sign, working with the first earth sign of the physical body. All right, okay, how do we implement this universal truth? That star's like hanging over Ganesh the Fool. This has been on my table for ages, but I wanted to stay. The clearer of obstacles, but the bringer of abundance. And obviously Aquarius is linked into the star card in tarot, so they're having a wild time. Now, remember when I talked about the pulse that was coming from the center of the galaxy? This moon was making a harmonious aspect, 33 on the clock, to the galactic center over at 28 degrees, 27 degrees, 28 degrees of Sagittarius. How appropriate for the year of the fire horse. So when I say harmonious aspect, this is a sextile. Air and fire get along. This is ruled by Venus. Star at the bottom of the deck. It's ruled by Venus. Connection, love, creativity, harmony. It's a flowing, free-flowing energy. As I said, air and fire, both yang energy. So we have this frequency that is supposedly hit us already. This wave, this gamma neutrino wave, that our planet is currently going through. That happens every 12,000 years. the the Saturn-Neptune conjunction that has happened at the very least 12,900 years ago, in a year one, with the fire horse. Now, what does the fire horse remind you of? Sagittarius is the centaur. Itiala is fire, right? It's a fire sign. That we have this harmonious aspect, which is this is the backdoor code sent from the source energy at the center of our galaxy, infusing into our universal collective mind here on this planet. Creative ways of realigning to our divine fire. Creative ways of implementing the utopian ideals of Aquarius, which involve the freedom for all. Like, I feel like Aquarius is anarchy in its true nature, and that is the honoring collectively of the individual. And the individual's ability to make its own sovereign decisions. And this is very coded into the Saturn-Neptune conjunction as well. And the more that you practice it in your own self, of getting out of your own way, the more you're going to see the knock-on effects of your instinct fire aligning with your soul's frequency. So this is the galactic center frequency that's coming in for the new moon. And more ones, right? Bones, bones, bones. All of them bones apart from the star, which is ones. And this is the three of wands. Right? So this is us climbing to a higher space, our mammalian side, our human, well, humans, mammalian, our animal side and our human side, same thing really. But you think about the centaur. I know this isn't a horse, but the man and the centaur of the Sagittarius energy. And we've got a lot of blue around this lady, who is very certain in her understanding. And look, you see there's an ecosystem here. There isn't anywhere else. And this is what's coming through, is our re-emergence into our capacity to engage in the true ecosystem of the self. The message of the spirits. Favorable circumstances to undertake a project. Outside help, hello Galactic Center. Unexpected support. Again, it's carrying on from the message of we've got your back. Doesn't mean it's going to be easy, but trust in us, in source, in whatever it is you want to call it. Trust that the more that you show up to your truth, your inner sense of justice to yourself, and that often requires clearing down the conditioning of your programming of what that even means to you. Now, this happened yesterday, Tuesday, Mars's day. So we want to look to where Mars is. And Mars was in the sign of Aquarius. And the most beautiful thing of this, love Mars in Aquarius, by the way. Our actions are in alignment with our universal frequency. We're more egalitarian. We are thinking of the collective, but at the same time, our universal truth. That goes beyond the paradigm structures of power, control, scarcity, finite, materialistic reality. That if you explore science, you know that that's all shifted anyway. Our capacity to take action in alignment with that code, in alignment with the backdoor code. And what is so beautiful about this, so Mars was influencing this moon because it was Mars's day, is Mars was conjunct the asteroid Vesta, exactly by degree. Now, Vesta is about devotion, dedication, tending of the inner flame. Diela di. You can't really make this up. We have another wand. We have the Queen of Wands. We've so far, in terms of the minor arcana, oh, my bad. Ace of Pentacles. Aces don't really count. But all the rest of the minor arcana, wands, fire, instinct. And we have the High Priestess. Vesta, goddess of the inner flame, Queen of Wands. The devotion and the dedication to that inner flame. A devotion and a dedication to the rebellion within and the sovereignty of the self. The anima and the High Priestess. Again, that theme of knowing. Right, the High Priestess, she's not at the trust level of the unfolding of reality. She's at the knowing level, right? So even though it's interpreted, it's the Moon's card, as a watery energy, I'm feeling that Aquarius high frequency of knowing. I swear I'm nearly there, of like, it's just, there's a level of clarity. Is going on with this. So we had Mars in a high vibrational frequency, conjunct our capacity, conjunct in energy. So our actions, our motivation, our drive in this alignment with this devotional side of Aquarius, this tending in dedication to the emergence of the inner flame in the frequency of this higher state. Now, I feel called to look at this card. For the fire horse. Guidance. Oh, you can't make up. Look, horse. Inner compass, support, trust your guidance. Horses have, I think it's 3 times the electromagnetic field from their heart that humans do. And humans' electromagnetic field from their heart is 3 feet compared to 3 inches of the mind. So if you add the horse energy on, that's 3 times that amount. Horse freedom, strength, movement, love, healing, walking from the heart, union of our instinctive self, the confident. Like horses are one of the main reasons why we have civilization, that capacity to travel. And you can apply this in an inner space as well. Your capacity to move through landscapes and not be stuck and rigid. And to trust the instincts of something that you are emerging into, not yet fully. We are at the beginning of this. Where that pace is going to pick up. You're going to know which path to go down. Your inner compass is aligned to your heart. The Egyptians got rid of the brain, kept the heart. The heart has, I believe, more neurons than the brain does. But we've had to clear out a lot of heart grievances. We've had to come to a lot of acceptance around our reality and what it's been like. For me, on a personal level, I have cleared out patterns that have lasted my whole life. And my framework, I know these come from ancestors, past life energy, as well as astrology, as well as my actual life. Honima, diele moyanima, itianima. Okay, they're wanting one card from here. So, right, we talked about the day, which was Mars's day. So this is coded into this eclipse and into this totem horse year. So movement. Mars is about action, motivation, drive. It is a personal planet. Itiala, the life force, to go with a horse in numerology year 1. The initiation. This is why I've got this red jasper egg. Itiala dialim. I can't remember what red jasper is all about. Maybe I should pause. Let me just Google it. So we talked about that. Now, Aquarius is ruled by Saturn, traditionally, which is what I work with. Lol, me typing Saturn at the same time. Powerful earthly grounding stone recognized for promoting strength, stability, and emotional endurance. Often called the stone of endurance, it connects deeply to the root chakra, providing security, reducing stress, and fostering courage in difficult situations. It is used for physical vitality, stamina, and protection. Itala do shilima. I just heard, let's go, let's roll, right? This is trusting you have all the skills. You have everything you need within you. Now, Saturn. So this came flying out. It was stuck before I read about the red jasper. Arcturus, the master listen, egg. Oh, you can't make it up. The master manifestor, our higher timeline. Pioneer, natural born leader, stargazer, highly evolved, masculine energy. Arguably, the snake is more yin, the wood is more yin, fire horse more yang. Ishale muyania, adua, ancient gifts. What did I say about backdoor code? Sacred geometry is the thing for me for Aquarius, right? It's that higher octane of the mind, of thoughts, of universal truths. Scientific. Right, there's so much stuff coming out in science that is backing up all of this stuff. So trust in your capacity to engage and create your own reality, but it involves letting go and following your instincts rather than the mind. Now, the energies that I channel, you might have noticed, they've been quite loud throughout this reading. At the end of the reading, I am going to be doing just pure light language channeling, where I'm going to be bringing in code to support this frequency. Arcturus, you're shifting into a higher timeline and you're unlocking your master manifestor abilities. You'll be manifesting big from now on. Negative polarity. Mental blocks are keeping you stuck. There's a part of your ego that needs to be cracked. With the egg. Focus more on the heart. Stop it. Stop it. Source, I love you. You just bring me so much joy. To find balance. Excuse me. And what did I say about the heart and the feather? Right, there's the heart in terms of Egyptian, but they weigh the heart against a feather. Focus more on the heart to find balance and try not to think so much. Saturn, right, ruler of this moon. So wherever Saturn is influencing this moon. Saturn, Aries, moved into Aries on Saturday. What date was that? What date? Let me get that calendar. The last Saturday. What day are we? On the 14th. Lol. Happy Valentine's Day. At 12 minutes past 12 here in the UK. This eclipse happened at, I believe, 1 minute past 12. So there's this element of initiation. Master frequency, number 12. So, Saturn in Aries. The moment it moved into Aries, I just felt this level of confident, integral authority within myself. Aries, the I am, the ram, ruled by Mars, the first zodiac sign, the first fire sign. instinct, that spark of fire, that flame of your divine self. Independent, wants to go forth into new territory, wants to explore life for itself, will not kowtow to that which does not resonate, right? Will not just say yes, will not just agree without questioning. Itala di shala di anima. Can be hot-headed, can be tyrannical. Itiala can be all about themselves. Ishala diala moyana. That's the shadow side. It's important to notice the shadow to understand, okay, why though? Why is that an issue? What wound does that come from? Always use those shadow and the negative and positive polarity, and I put no preference on either of them because that is the polarity of the universe. When we are in harmony with these two things, we don't get extremes, right? There is beauty and wisdom and power and sovereignty in every damn thing. So, Saturn in Mars' sign, in Aries. 3 days before moved in there for the final time in the next 30 years. Aries and Aquarius. Aries, initiation, cardinal energy, gets things done. Fixed energy, Aquarius, the consistent universal truth. We are going through a process of initiation over and over and over and over and over again, of integrating and updating that universal source code. Saturn, for me, keyword, root word for Saturn, integrity. Everything else comes from it, right? It can bring restrictions and boundaries, a sense of authority, a sense of disruption, power being impinged upon you. We're seeing that in the collective. But on an individual level, you walk your talk with integrity. Aries doesn't care what other people think of them, right? So often we are distorted by the expectations of our perceptions of how others see us. This combination, Saturn in Mars' sign, ruling the moon, Mars in Saturn's sign, ruling Saturn. This balance with Vesta, with Mars, and Neptune, they're not conjunct yet, that's happening in 3 days. Neptune conjunct Saturn, the pulling of the veil, the instigation of our divine spark of spirit, I'm going to talk about this more in another reading, is bringing in an alignment of sovereignty at a higher frequency that we are putting into practice. Now, at this time, Venus was conjunct the North Node in Pisces. The North Node represents where we're headed, what we're striving for. It's reminding me, this phrase came to mind recently, right? We're suppressing emotions, water, Pisces. Water is Pisces is the collective water sign. Is the magical, mystical, wibbly-wobbly land of Pisces, right? If we suppress our emotions, they amplify, right? They get stuck in our body and they amplify. And this phrase kept coming to mind, and this particular phrase felt very significant. I give myself permission to feel. I give myself permission to think. I give myself permission to sense. So sense is the sort of physical sensations rather than the emotional body. But I wouldn't add on any other words to the situation that, I might have been struggling with. It was a very universal expression of self. And I found it's been an incredibly helpful tool because we have cleared the code. But it doesn't mean it's not still floating around within us. It doesn't mean that we're not going to go down wormholes, wormholes in our brain, spirals, right? Or our body's going to have a response to something. Saying that phrase and then allowing things to move through you, again, is helping clear the residue. Now, Venus is in her exaltation. That means the qualities of Venus are raised up high, right? It has an influence on Pisces because of that, but she's conjunct the North Node. Now, this is our North Node in Pisces, is our going into new territory to truly believe in the magical wibbly wobbly world of source, that abundance is for everyone, that everything's connected, that we create our own reality, and that there's synchronicities, there's guides, there's all the weird and wonderful stuff of the things we cannot perceive, the unseen, the mystic. Now, Venus, love, connection, harmony, divine love, conjunct the North Node on the day of this eclipse. Now, the moon rules Cancer, where Jupiter is. Jupiter rules Pisces. And so this universal frequency is allowing us to swim in love. 550. 5550. Itiala on the clock, as I said that. Which is 15, which is 6, which is the card of the lovers. Making the right choices that serve the love of self in the most unconditional way. Quite a few years ago, I got a message when Venus was in Pisces that you are perfect with your imperfections. Perfection is the imperfection. I'm butchering it. It was a lot more articulate than that. It was a while ago. Inima. Ally of the water. A capacity to dream that can liberate the spirit or lose it amidst the useless reveries. Importance in an honoric life. I need to look that up. So this is about the dream state, your intuition, your magic, your spirit, your capacity to even connect to the idea of your fullest embodiment of life. And it's reminding me, I can't remember if I've already said this, last year, I don't think I did, last year I was getting really clearly, there's very few people on this planet who really genuinely feel the fullest of being alive. Now you think of like your best day, and it would come up when I was feeling really good, and I felt numb and disconnected my whole life. So I was like, woohoo! And it felt really real. And then they'd come through and go, this isn't even touching the sides. So we're activating our capacity, even if it's just in the unconscious. And I say that because the unconscious rules us. And a reminder not to lose yourself in things. I'm feeling called to say dopamine coded, cortisol coded, right? That kind of things that are in extreme, inherently useless. It's not everything in moderation, including moderation, but let's look up honoric. I've just remembered that the last video I've done on this channel was the Pisces eclipse. Eclipse. It derives from the Greek dream, peace of the soul, importance of an honorific life. Oh, this is leading me up to talk about Pisces. Mercury. Surreal, dreamy, fantastical imagery that feels detached from reality. It comes from the Greek, which is onerous for dream. So a dream-like life. A film with an honoric quality often lacks linear narrative, focusing instead on atmosphere. Pisces is where things can just appear out of nowhere, like genuine magic that does not correlate to the finite, linear, materialistic, rationalistic, control, linear process of time. Love it. Linear is great. But there's other modalities. And the more that we allow ourselves to even contemplate that, it creates more opportunities on your field for Source to come in with things that seem like miracles. But they're not. Everything's connected. So there is no such thing as miracles. It's just fact. It's just rational energy that we're not fully aware of all the mechanisms. So hold that. Hold that. And Venus being conjunct the North Node at that time is infusing our capacity to connect to that. Right? To be open to that connection. Right. What do I want to do? I want to talk about Mercury. So, I want to talk about Mercury and how Mercury is going to go retrograde soon. So at the time of this eclipse, Mercury is in what's called shadow. And this is when it's going over the degrees it's going to retrograde over, i.e. go backwards over. So our retrograde cycle is moving forwards over the degrees, pausing, stopping, going backwards. It's the second part of the cycle. Pausing, then moving forwards. So we are currently in the Mercury retrograde cycle. That's too many cards. Even though we did get the Magician, the Eight of Swords. Okay. The Three of Pentacles. Okay, let's just do it. Okay, Magician, Eight of Swords, Three of Pentacles, Seven of Pentacles. Okay, they want them in this order. I zoned out while they were doing that. It is going to end its retrograde on the North Node. Okay, so this activation of magical reality, which is real reality, is amplified in our perception. Mercury, how we communicate, how we process information. I remember a couple of years back, it was either in a Mercury Pisces retrograde or Mercury was just really prominent in Pisces for lunation. I did loads of research because Mercury is deemed to be in its fall and depression in the sign of Pisces because it's in its exaltation and rise in the sign of Virgo, which is opposite Pisces. So whereas Venus is in her favorite place, other than the signs that she rules, Mercury is deemed to be in its most unfavorable place. However, you Google and you research. Not just on Google, wouldn't be very good with it. Well, actually, maybe with AI now. I haven't really used it. You're researching people with Pisces Mercury, poets, mystics, people who are able to bring atmosphere, to bring the dream, to bring words together that aren't like a imagery that you wouldn't piece together, that makes them, it's like the haiku, right? That really gets into that deeper subconscious, unconscious, dreamlike, magical energy within you, where we supposedly pick up like 10,000 more bits of information from symbols than we do words. It's very that. So we're in this stage of being aware of patterns. And then this is what I've been practicing, saying, oh no, upgrade. Right? Upgrade the frequency and allowing yourself to see what happens, right? Because Mercury's going back and forth. So we're in this kind of middling stage of expression and integration. And obviously that's going to evolve. But this is like, we're in a year one, right? So this is initiation energy. This is baseline energy. This is practicing. This is getting that, it's the activation that leads to the building of it. Itiala dielima. So be really open to how you're perceiving reality. Itiala di shelima. And so there's this element of being in a big landscape where you're feeling quite small, right? We get very scared, right? Control, survival. So we have to limit our understanding of reality in order to get through the day. But this is really implying that we are embarking on a journey where we're protected. Look, this little figure's wearing a crown. They're wearing white. There's a sense of clarity of light, of moving through these bigger structures, right? And being curious about them rather than in fear of them. We have the Eight of Swords, this sense of protection while we shed the cages of our mind. Again, calling back to the beginning of the video of revolution, liberation, but restoration. Of your health. The Magician is Mercury's card, right? Listening to messages in things beyond your mind. We have these three birds here. Feeling the energy of the things around you. What everything is talking to you. Source is talking to you through all things. Through your computer, through your phone, through plastic, through nature, everything. Do not limit yourself to your capacity to engage in information that is beyond the structures of the expectation of what reality is that you've been conditioned with. Each time you put that into practice and have an element of trust, right? A lot of the times, I'm just thinking about the body actually. A lot of the times I'm feeling very cloudy in my mind. I now know that means I'm not supposed to be thinking about that right now. Things haven't fallen into place for whatever revelation to happen. And instead of beating myself up about it, I'm like, cool, I'm listening to that. And then things will be really clear about a decision to make. You make that decision, and then it activates another level of integration that you've got to do that then may lead to a different decision than an original clear decision. Again, trust the process. Trust that the code is already locked in. That you got nothing to fear. No regrets. It doesn't mean don't work through stuff, but do not self-flagellate. With this card, this is the Three of Pentacles, which is a card often linked into collaboration, right? But putting in the work. And this feels like and even though there's the mountains in the background, they do also feels like the waves on an ocean. This feels like your divine self and your divine inner child. That there are other aspects of you that are coming on pilgrimage. That the answers are within. That you have the capacity. It was 01089 to clear the levels even more, right? Because even though we're in the year near of the fire horse, and it's a new energy that's come in, and we're numerology year 1, it doesn't mean that there isn't code to clear out, that there isn't a refinement process, right? Sometimes I think I've hit a high level and then something happens or whatever, all sorts of different ways where I'm like, oh no, I can refine that. I find when people are saying things that I resonate with, that I am already in a state of awareness over, I will then refine that frequency even more, right? This is Saturn, of the dedication. This is Mars conjunct Vesta. This is devotion to the actions, to the cultivation of that inner flame. If you notice sort of the red energy we've got here, sort of it's like solar plexus with a bit of root chakra down here, energy of your creation energy. Find play in it, find fun in it. right? This element of conversion to your own truth. Felt cold. Neptune, light of inspiration, time for a spiritual retreat. Dreams, inspiration, universal love, psychic reciprocity, receptivity even, awareness, oneness, enlightenment, illusion, deception, trickery. Itiala. Let's read Neptune. Itiala ma. It feels with this fire horse that whereas before we might have been pulled into the mire with the trickery energy, the deception, the illusions, the frustration of old patterns showing up again, of this empowerment of our capacity to not lose our spark, to not lose our motivation, our drive, and our action, to continue within our soul's frequency, to not let it be impacted by our environment in a dysregulating way that stops our movement. Horses very rarely sit down to sleep, right? They are in this state of movement, predominantly, even if they're standing, right? There's a different level of rest there, and also of capacity and awareness and alertness. Now, this doesn't feel like it's draining. It doesn't feel like it's burnout energy. This feels like an unrelenting virility of life force. That things may come up, right? It's simply small little dots rather than a complete blotting out of your view. You're being called to transcend your reality and find deeper peace and meaning. Solitude or a spiritual retreat would be highly beneficial for you right now. Negative polarity, illusions or deceptions are keeping you stuck. Are you giving your power away by losing yourself in the trickery of your mind, or is someone deceiving you? Right? So I'll talk more about this in the Saturn-Neptune conjunction. But the day of the eclipse, I felt incredibly clear. But it didn't mean that there weren't things going on that would normally have dysregulated me, that would normally have brought cloudiness or a heaviness or a weight or being in a pause momentum. That I can't say that everything is going to change rapidly and quick. Things are going to be rapid and quick, but there are layers of integration. There are layers of cultivating of your own inner awareness of your own strength. Everything that comes towards you that is not that reflection is only calling you to turn back into yourself, into your inner frequency, and go, I've got this. Like, this is it's not that deep. It is establishing this firmness on the ground, this stability to be your unique self. And there's still stuff that we need to clear out. Okay, I had to look at the bottom and the top of this. So we've got Pluto, light of transcendence, find power in shadows, transformation, intensity, destruction, death, deep truths, rebirth, renewal, power, wealth, obsessive desire. Again, Pluto's playing a prominent role in this. Pluto is in Aquarius. Be mindful, and again, this goes back to what I was talking about in terms of the collective, of hierarchical power structures, tyrants. Aries can be very tyrannical. Tyrants within thyself. Love them. Love them. Work through them. Don't shame yourself. Find the power in the shadows. Light of transcendence. And at the top, Sagittarius, the centaur. I seek, dare to be free. Adventurous, free spirit, idealistic, bold, optimistic, independent, philosophical, wise, funny, blunt, restless, reckless. Now, there's two things I forgot to talk about. One, this numerological year started on a Thursday. Thursday is Jupiter's day. Jupiter rules Sagittarius, Firehorse. Jupiter is coded into this numerological year. The North Node is in Pisces at the time of this new numerological year, at the time of Chinese New Year, at the time of this eclipse. The manifestation of that North Node in Pisces is happening in the sign of Sagittarius. South Node's happening in Virgo. Of the fire energy. Half horse, half human. Diala diala o toela. Diale muy hinima. Hoshenia. Everything is layered. I could go into even more layers, but we are at 1 hour and 15 minutes. Okay. I'm just going to drink a sip of my tea. Hydrate. Hydrate's important. Hydrate's important. Hydrating even is important. They always want more cards. As I say, hydrate, healing. Give yourself a break because of the downloads and the processing and the recalibration that is going on. Be kind. Be kind to thyself. Right. So I'm going to tap. Well, I'm already always tapping into my guides, but they are going to now, they, me, I, you, we. We're going to be bringing in frequency codes, and that's what the light language is. To help integrate, excuse me, integrate this message. Of your capacity to liberate thy own self, to see beyond the illusions, to tap into your own magic, to revolutionize yourself beyond the old power structures that have been a cage. Diala di shalamadiala madoela. Di shalamado shalamadialama. Doela di shalamadi shalado ti tia ti shoot. Itala di shalamaduela. Di onamaina ush. na na